Good afternoon. Welcome back, everybody. Jeremy right here. Today, boat's finished. Completed. It's done. However, I'm not rowing it or paddling it. Not unless I absolutely have to. So, got to put the outboard back together. I'm going to show you guys how to reassemble a Mercury outboard. So let's get to it. Okay, so what we have here, 9.8, the 110 Mercury outboard. This is a 1972 model, serial number 32, and some chains, so, or 30, maybe 33, I can't remember, 32, 33, something like that. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to reassemble this. I believe when I did this, when I disassembled it so I could paint it, it took roughly, I don't know, 4 or 5 hours, something like that. Now, I made the mistake of not keeping all my parts where they, you know, kind of setting out areas. This is what this goes to, this, da-da-da. So, what I'm going to do here is I've kind of laid out the beginnings for my reassembly. And for the reassembly, I'm going to kind of start at the end of the disassembly. And at the end of the disassembly, all that was left was the bracket and the bracket saddle. So that's what we have here. We got the bracket, arms, bracket saddle. And then from there, it's actually fairly straightforward. It's not that hard. But so we're going to go ahead and get to it. So where we're going to start at first, so we're going to start with the bracket. So what we have here, so we got our pivot, or a swivel tube, or the pivot tube, okay. We have our swivel pin. This takes 2 O-rings. I've already got one down here in the bottom. The other one will go in, as you can see, in this top little groove. I'm not going to install that yet. Got our nuts. And these little locking deals. Now, where I'm kind of getting hung up at is I have this little piece, okay. I've got a new spring, and this is the reverse lock lever. I cannot remember how this is supposed to go in. Okay, so put the tube in. Got these little O-rings that go on the outside here. I'm also going to go ahead and put in the grease fitting. I also have a grease fitting cover. It's very simple, just kind of. Get it started. Need something a little extra grip on there. But don't put it in backwards. All the parts that I have purchased, along with hardware, have been replaced with all stainless steel. So you just want that snug or hand tight. You don't want it overly tight. Let's probably give it, I'm not even gripping it anymore. Okay. Alright, so that's pretty much that. Install this little cover. Oh, wrong way. There we go. So this little cover is to keep dirt, debris, everything else out of there. It also keeps your grease fittings lasting longer. What we're going to do now is we have this little pivot arm. So I'm going to go ahead and tighten this down. I got a 7/16 in there. This you can either use an 11 or a 7/16. That's the American equivalent. I'm going to tighten this down, but not all the way. I'm going to leave it just a little bit loose. Actually, I might just go ahead and get it all the way. Because I also got to figure out where this mounts to. So, which I think, I'm pretty sure that it's going to mount to here on the inside. Yeah, that's it. Alright, so I figured this out. I do have a diagram pulled up on my phone. It's kind of hard to see. I would highly recommend getting a manual. I think there's 2 manuals out there. One of them is apparently really good. The other one is junk. I don't know which is which. You'll have to kind of do your own research on that in the forums. But I think they're both about the same price too. But one has more in-depth where the other one doesn't. So how this goes in, and this is your reverse lock lever. You got this little pin, okay, that goes with that. And then there's this screw, all right, and this spring, okay. We're going to put this in first, and there's a little tab on the inside here. There's a tab, so this will sit in here like this, okay. And then your screw go in on this piece. And you want to install it with you don't want to do it like this, okay? Because that doesn't work. It's got to go in with this tab, this piece here, facing inside the bracket. So we're going to slide that on there. Go ahead and get this started. Okay, so I'm just finishing getting this screwed in. You don't want this down tight, okay? Just, okay. Just a little snug. It's going to move around, and you want it to. You want it to move around, because this has to articulate, okay? So now, okay, this goes in like this. This little arm. Uh-oh. See if I can do this. And then this hook goes on this bar. There we go. Okay, let's actually try to. There, okay. I'm going to push that over. Alright, that's where that goes. So we're going to leave this spring for right now, just right here. Okay, it's going to sit there. Alright, so we've got that in. We're going to go ahead and reinstall the tube. Push that through. Okay. We're going to slide our rings on. Alright. Our rings are on. Okay. Slide this bracket arm on. It's a little tight. Okay. Whew, sweaty. Okay, so we're going to get these bracket arms on. Give me a minute. I got to get like a mallet so I can tap this through. Okay, so we've got the tube in. Got this lock pin down here in. What I'm doing is I'm putting on these are nylon lock nuts. And what size are they? Oh, there we go. Alright, I gotta get a wrench. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and tighten these up just a little bit. Okay. So I'm trying to take extra special caution while I'm doing this because I put a brand new paint job on this, and with me doing that, I'm just trying to keep it on there. Okay, this side's down. Those are on. Right there. Okay, so now I just got to get this tube over, and let me get this locking arm installed. Okay, which will be this. This will go here. This piece. Will go there. Put this in. Okay, so I had to kind of disassemble it. I forgot to put one of my O-rings in. This pivot tube is really tight from the repainting. So I'm going to kind of lubricate things up. However, I don't want to spray all this down with a bunch of PB Blaster. Okay, so I'm going to spray the PB Blaster on this. Okay, and what that does is it allows me to then take it and just kind of wipe this tube down a little bit, and it'll kind of help grease things up there. I'm going to set that down. Now what I am going to do too is I'm going to take that and just kind of run that inside this hole just a little bit, just to kind of help give a little extra. Might need to spray a little bit more on here. Okay, spray that on. Come do this. And just wipe that in. Alright, now kind of work it. There we go. Each side. Okay. And we want that moving a little bit freely, so we want it to spin. We don't want it in there so tight we can't move it. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to reassemble everything. I've already showed you guys what to do from there, but I will kind of go through it one more time here. We're going to slide the pivot tube in. Okay. Now, as you can see, there's these 4 holes in this. Okay. Let's go over that real quick. So we've got these 4 holes, 2 here and 2 there. Now, if you look where these holes line up, they line up right on this. Okay, and that's where they're supposed to line up at, I think. Fairly certain, or fairly close to that, something like there. Okay. These are for you to put grease or oil in there to kind of oil this up. That's what those are for. So you spray it in, you know, because these tubes are hollow. So you spray your oil or stuff in here, and then the oil will go into these holes, and when this moves around, it oils all of that up. Okay. See, look how much easier that moves now. All right. Set that there. get the right side of things here. Alright, oh, and I did it again. Put the washers on. Okay, there we go. Okay, this one is a little tight. I'm going to make sure it articulates. Good. Okay, so all we're missing is that spring. Not a big deal, easily done. Alright, we're back. So we got this pretty much all done. A couple of things we've got left are the pivot discs for the pivot plate. Still got to do this spring. Now we've got the saddle bracket, okay? And we've got the O-ring for our swivel pin. This is about where that sits. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead. We already installed the bottom O-ring. Alright. I'm going to go ahead and push this one in. There's a little groove on the inside here. Okay. Just kind of get it started in that groove. It slides in. Okay. Now, one thing that we are going to do is I have some marine grease. Got marine grease in here. I'm going to grease this tube up a little bit. Just, you know, and kind of grease these fittings so that way this slides in. Let me do that real quick, and then we'll go ahead and we'll install the actual swivel bracket into the swivel saddle. Take this. We'll just kind of get it really good and greased up. Okay. Always make sure you use marine grease. Don't use automotive grease. It's a different kind of grease, different deals. This one is meant for wet water conditions, and it is saltwater rated. I think this is just Lucas marine grease. I think the tube is in that gun, so I can't show you. Okay. Now to mount this, okay, these auto lock into place. All right. We're going to take this. Now you're going to kind of have to do this upside down when you put it together. All right, and that is because those screws will fall out. Okay. All right, now that we got that in, I'm just going to take this. Get that lined up. Okay, it's in. Or if we can kind of hammer that in. Okay, we look like we're in. Just kind of set that into place. So we also have to remember that when we put this in, these two slots were equal with these two holes. So I'm going to get a screwdriver so I can turn that, and then I'm going to get this hammered all the way down in, and then we'll move on. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and move on. This is the top plate, okay. Got the washer, bolt and washer for it. This wave washer, another wave washer, okay. Just going to set this to the side. We don't get that yet. And then we have these two pivot discs. These discs are incredibly important, okay, and you have to have all four. So you have two discs that sit here. Okay, and then these two discs, they sit on top of each other. These are anti-friction discs, all right? They eventually do wear out. Now what will happen if these start to wear out, your handle is going to grind on the top here. It's going to grind all this out, and it's not good. So the 2 discs go there. The other 2 discs, they go right in here. Normally you'll have orange discs and black discs. So with these, I just have all 4 blacks. So we're just going to kind of push them in. All right. Now they're tight, very tight. Okay. I totally messed up. This is how this is supposed to go. I forgot that this little piece, so if this is sitting in here like this locks into that, okay? So you still want, you're going to put your bolt in. You got your bolt. Okay, you got this little washer. I'm going to slip that, if I can get it in there. Okay, we got the washer in there. Now, this is where it gets, okay, so, it's got to remember, this is coming like this. So the hook's going to be down. Then you're going to have this piece come in. As you can see, I kind of messed up my paint already. So, and then this little washer clips in. Okay, that clips in. It will sit right in there. We're going to thread our bolt down a little bit more. Okay. Hold that on. Now, this piece, with your discs down, will come in through this back hole. Alright. I'm going to get that on there. And what that little silver piece does is that actually holds that in place. I totally forgot. So that's how that went on. Okay. Then you just take a nylon nut. Alright. Got it on there. Now we're going to tighten it up. I'm doing this with the drill just to make it quicker. So you just want to tighten that up where it's kind of snug. Alright, and what that does is it keeps your plate locked in place. Alright, and then from there you can use a socket wrench. So we're going to turn this. Alright. Okay, so I got that tightened up. So I'm going to go ahead and I went ahead and put the spring in. So your spring connects down here, and then it will just hook into, I just hooked it into this hole. I mean, you could probably hook it into that hole, all in all. I might actually move that over. It might look a little bit better. So, but let's make sure everything works. So we're going to tilt this up. Okay. We're going to pull up this lever. We're going to, there we go. Okay. It's locked in. Your spring pulls that down. Okay. So now let's go ahead. I'm going to get my parts together that I need. We're going to go ahead and connect the saddle bracket to the actual housing. Alright, so here we've got the lower housing. We got the saddle bracket. Takes 4 of these pins, 2 on each side, upper and lower, and then the lower ones get these little decorative things put on the front of them. So, alright, so let's go ahead and let's get this going. And then you got these split rings, and the split rings will go in there like that. You will need a pair of split ring pliers. So for these, very simple. Let's get them. I'm going to do this side. There's a little groove in there. There we go. Okay. What that does is that locks that into place. So now, that's where Mr. Mallet there we go. Mr. Mallet becomes very persuasive. So now we're going to get these locked in. And you will know when they're locked in. So there, I've got the bottom done. So what I'm probably going to do is I'm going to go ahead and set this up on the jack plate so that way I can get a better view. Okay, so this took a minute to get these top ones in and to get them seated. Problem was I can get to one side seated, but I couldn't get this side in far enough to get that split ring to seat press. So I took a 7/8 socket and a little wood press, wood vise, I guess that's what you call it, okay? I pushed it in there, pushed it in there as tight as I could. So then I took a second 7/8 socket, and with the split ring put inside of it, I used the 7/8 socket and I pushed the split ring into seat. And you'll hear it clip in. Alright, so make sure you put this arm on before you do this. You cannot get this on if you get this installed. Alright, so we're going to tighten down these last 3 bolts, if I can do that. Okay. Now that we got that in, let's check our range of motion. Still pretty tight, but I also haven't added any grease to that, which I probably need to. If I can get that off. So I'm going to grease this up, I'm going to work this around, and then from there we will move on to getting the lower cowl down, the little plate on here down. Okay, so we got the bottom cowl here. I went ahead and I put in the rubber mounts. So we've got a mount here, and a mount there. On this front one here, you got a ground wire. On this back one here, you got a ground wire. And I've also went ahead and put the stop switch in. You can't really see it, but stop switch here, this little protective plate. And then I put the rubber mount on this. So I'm going to go ahead and put the engine in. And I'm doing it this way because what I want to do is I want to set the engine in here and mount it. And then I will pick all this up and set it onto that. Alright, so I've got this in. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to bolt down the actual mounts. Alright, so these are 7/16. It's going to go ahead and get this little Alright, so I'm going to set this up there. What I'm going to do first, though, I got gasket maker. Now, this is fuel resistant. That's the key. You want to make sure you get one that's fuel and oil resistant. Top of it, this is for like 2 cycles anyways, so now you don't really need a whole lot of it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some down on this bottom piece. Okay? Then I'm going to put some on this top piece. And then I'm going to go ahead and mate the surfaces. Pretty good. Always make sure your gaskets go on. They only go on one way, so. Yeah, man, this is runny. So we're just going to kind of lightly very so lightly. Tap that in. Okay. Now we're going to go over the top. You're going to go around your bolt holes. I just wanted to get just kind of tacky so when I put it on, it doesn't run. It might just kind of sit there just for a few minutes, not a big deal. This takes 24 hours to cure. And once I set this on, these bolts will really only be hand tightened after that. Alright, so we're going to let this sit for like maybe 5 or 10 minutes just to kind of tack up. And then we're going to set the actual outboard and the lower cowl down on top. Okay. All right, they're all in. So I'm going to go ahead and tighten these bolts up. All right, so we've got, this is your indent spring, the washer for it. This is for your shift control. It goes right here. You're going to put it with this edge, the little clip facing up. Okay. So to get this in here, we're going to pull this all the way back. What that does is that kind of allows that to slide in. Kind of want to keep it in the almost just want to slide it in the neutral position just like I had it there. Make sure you finger tighten everything, or at least get it started with your fingers first. And that'll prevent you from potentially stripping stuff out. Okay. Alright, so I had to get, here's a long extension. Something skinny to fit in there. You have to push this out of the way. I'm just going to twist this down. I could hook this up to a drill if I really wanted to. Okay. Alright, so yep, that's it. It's installed. And I'm pretty sure there's a wire that goes on one of these as a ground. I'll have to figure it out. The wiring on this is a little wonky, to say the least. So, actually I think this wire goes on that. I think this black wire might go on here. I still got to figure out a lot of wiring on this, so... Alright, so that's your spring indent for your shift lever, okay? Now that we got that in, we're going to go ahead and move to the front. And we're going to get the fuel pump installed, carburetor installed, and the actual throttle linkage and the front control arm installed. Alright? What I am going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put in the actual tiller handle and the linkage for that. I've already put in the first part of the linkage here. Now, this isn't tightened down or anything. It's just kind of hand tight. So here is the front part. Okay. Now I put on new heat shielding. Kind of burnt it on accident. Whoops. So we're just going to slide that through this hole. Okay. Going to get it lined up in there. And then we're just going to... Alright, so it's pushed all the way in. I'm going to kind of turn this. So, after that we have these two little clips. These actually get mounted in as such. So I'm going to go ahead and mount those. Try to do it from this side. Okay, so this is what this linkage looks like when it's installed. Now in here in the sides you can see that this area is grooved. It's the same way on the other side. So what we're going to do is, this is what this normally looks like. Get on the light here. Okay. That's what it's going to be. So what I do is this piece, okay, goes in here. And it might need to be adjusted, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and grease both sides of this. And then I will stick this on here, okay? And then once I stick that on there, I'll grease the other side of that. I'll grease both sides. And with me greasing both sides like that, it will reduce friction and kind of make things go a little bit smoother. And one thing to do here is to kind of slide this in like so. And then you can kind of, you can see where this really needs to go. And it looks like I might have it. Yes, I do. Okay. Second bolt. Now what I like to do is I will take this and just kind of get it in those threads real good.
Alright, we're going to bed because you're taking too long.
Alright, I mean I was just about finished here. Alright, so once you get your holes lined up. Okay, so we're going to put in our, it's part of the shift throttle linkage. Okay, so this is what it looks like. This is what it looks like. Okay, it's this piece here. What you have here is you'll have like this little cylinder. Okay, here you got this spring. And this has to go in a certain way, and you got your bolt. Okay, so your bolt's going to go on top. Get your cylinder, that's going to go there, just like that. Then your washer, bottom washer is going to go there. Okay, now your spring is going to go in like this. There's a hole right here, kind of hard to see, but there's a hole. So if you look on this spring, you got a side pointing down. See better on my hand, there you go. And then this side pointing up. So you're going to come in on the bottom here. Okay. Or wait. Oh no. Is it? Oh. Coming in the wrong way. Alright. So you're going to want to come in this way. Okay. And it's going to wrap around this. So that's how your spring is going to be. So you got the rounded piece here. Got this coming up. So you're going to set this in the hole. You're going to lean that up. Okay. Now that's how that goes in. Now this is kind of tricky, okay, so what you got to do is you got to get this piece in the little hole. A little tricky here, especially if you got everything on this. Alright, I got it in. I don't know what size bolt this is. I think it's a 7/16. Look at that, 7/16. Because everything is a 7/16 on this. I guess it's just going to be a wrench. Alright, let me get something. Okay, we got the piece in, so, and I should give you guys an example. So, right now my throttle is on start, so it can't shift. It's actually stuck in forward. This would be forward. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna move that to shift. Okay, so now this is neutral. We're gonna start it. Okay, still in the starting range, all right? Okay, so we started it up. We've engaged it into forward, and then we're gonna turn it on fast. See that? It will not engage into gear. So you only have 2 gears on this, forward and reverse. So now let's go ahead, let's put on the carburetor. Okay, so here comes the carburetor. Now this is a little bit tricky with these bolts. So what you have to do is, I don't know if I'll be able to show you. So you can't just come in and start this because you've got a little piece here that hits that. So what you have to do, let's see if I can show you on this side. Okay. Yeah, so what you have to do is you got to come about there. And then these are lock nuts. So now we got to come here, or they're strange nuts. Okay. You kind of have to like get this started. Alright, So we got that one started, but then you got to do the same thing on this other side here. Okay. Always best to try to get these with your fingers as much as possible, because trying to get a wrench in here is actually kind of hard. See, I can't get it in there anymore. Okay, so this will be 7/16. And then you just kind of tighten it up. Okay, so we got the choke installed. Here you go. You want it up, as you can see here. This little spring you want on there, and when you turn it, choke is on, choke is off. Choke is on, choke it off. Oh look, I'm choking it off. Ooh, choke it off. Yeah. There it is. So now next, we are going to get the fuel pump installed, and then we're going to be hooking up hoses, and I believe that'll be it. Afterwards, it'll just be putting the outer cowl on it. So this is going to sit in here like this, okay? This is to the carburetor. I forget what this one's for. But we want to, I'm going to take this, and then we're going to spin that, okay, because this is actually going to sit in here like this, and then that will be like that. This one's real easy. I'm just going to slide this like this. Slide that there, and then these two little screws just fit right down in that. You can just hand tighten those up. I go ahead and use this behemoth. Okay, but let's go ahead and put the final touches on it. Where does that go? Okay. Bam! There it is. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Like I said, I'm Jeremy Wright. This was the reassembly of a Mercury 110. 9.8 horse. This was the reassembly in reverse. So, but thanks for watching guys. Don't forget, like and subscribe. And stay tuned for more.